Okay, we're going to call this meeting of the School Building Committee to order. Today is December 14, 2023. Welcome, everyone. First item on the agenda is approval of the November 16 minutes. Is there a motion for to approve those minutes? Okay.
Couple of small typos in there.
Okay.
And then I can't get it.
Oh. You saw a couple of typos? Okay. Do we have a second by that? I didn't.
I will second.
Okay,
it.
okay. Second, Chris.
But in terms of content, I think it's.
So it's spelling typos?
Yeah, like it's a ED is missing or something.
Okay, we can take a look for that and see if we can find it.
Yeah.
Okay, apart from the typos then, everyone, all in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate. Any opposed or abstentions?
I abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay, so Mary and Chris M abstain. Okay, that brings us the opportunity for public input. Anyone that'd like to address the committee? Seeing none, we'll move on. Then for our updates. So maybe Adam, I will pitch it to you and you can kind of get us started on some of the updates.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So the topics we have for tonight, some updates on the cafeteria and classroom acoustics. So for the cafeteria, the panels that were ordered have arrived. Last I discussed with Bill Treach last week, about half have been installed. I'm not sure what the update is subsequent to that, but that is
This is in the cafeteria, right?
Correct, the cafeteria, yes. So those are the about $10,000 worth of the thicker panels that matched what was there existing along the walls. In the classrooms, the one classroom, some of the panels have been removed and are being packaged up for shipping for testing. That was something that was approved by the SBC a while back. And then I see Jeff's on. Jeff, do you want to give there's just a brief update from Mark Reber that you got?
Muted, Jeff.
Yeah, I'll just forward the email that I sent to you, Adam. Let's see. I got the report from Mark. He basically outlined 5 bullet points, actually 6. He said he visited on 12/9 and successfully made measurements in rooms 2139 and 2111, which had additional acoustic panels installed. Both rooms now meet the 0.07 second maximum reverberation time mandated by the standard, although only marginally in both cases. And he said, not sure you realize, but they used 1/2-inch panels. We knew that. They should use 1-inch panels so the results wouldn't be marginal. In classroom 2139, 9 panels had fallen off the wall, but we propped them up so they were exposed in the room. The question is, how much info should we have in the report? Blah, blah, blah. So that's between him and me. He said, as I looked at the wood ceiling cafeteria again and came to the same conclusion last time, that there is a thin fleece material between the slabs, but not any kind of blanket laid on top, which we understand was specified. Now, when I was there, I pushed a tape measure up and there were about 3 inches. I didn't feel anything, but then further up, I felt something. So there may be something in there. We just need to, without damaging the felt and the wood ceiling, get up there and just confirm whether there's bad up above there or not. But other than that, it looks like the felt is working, or not the felt, the panels that they're putting in the classrooms.
Looks like it. We want it to. Jeff, as you say, it looks like it. We want it to sound like it. Is there anybody that?
Well, that's what I just reported to you. Was Mark Reber went out there and measured it, and it looks like it is satisfying the requirements.
Rich, have you been into any of the rooms? Have you noticed any substantive difference?
I haven't been in the classrooms, but I have had teachers who teach in those classrooms or who are in those grade levels, and they've reported back that they've noticed a difference between their classroom and the acoustic classrooms.
Okay, Steve.
To Chris's question, one of my kids is in a room that has the new panels. We were in there for a parent-teacher conference, and the teacher ran me across the hall to a room that did not have the panel. So I heard both of them, and as not a trained acoustician, as just a completely lay person, there was, I could hear quite a difference, mainly in the reverberation. Definitely seemed quiet, like less reverberation with the supplemental panels.
Tony?
So what does that mean for going forward?
So moving forward in the classrooms, I don't know if Peter is there or not, but
Peter's not
he
here
had
yet.
identified a plan to continue exploring moving those panels and including panels in additional classrooms. I don't know if, again, that's kind of small on my screen. I can't see if he's in the room or not.
No, he's not.
Okay, so that was the last I heard. The inclination was to pursue some sort of additional program throughout the remaining spaces. And in the cafeteria, once those additional panels are up that were just procured, the more the Conwed panels, the larger panels, to see what the impact is at those spaces, to see if additional panels might be prudent in the cafeteria or not.
Ed?
You said earlier that the acoustician said there should be 1-inch panels, not half-inch panels. Are you going to put in 1-inch panels?
I think the notion there was that the 1-inch panels were what was existing in the classrooms. And with the felt panels provided currently in the 2 classrooms, they're only a 1/2 inch. So the takeaway was if they were 1-inch, they'd provide even more sound absorption. The issue is that the 1-inch panels are more expensive, and those are what was procured last time through the SBC. So it's a different animal than the more modular felt items that were provided in the 2 test classrooms. So it's kind of goes without saying, yes, if you put more sound reducing panels in there, it would be better. Well, yes, obviously.
Is
In this
there a
case-
plan? I mean,
Well, let me just say
we're-
something. In this case, what Mark is saying is that if you use a thicker panel in the same area, you'll get a better result, obviously. That's what Adam's trying to say.
Yeah.
So right now, what was put in there is 1/2 inch, what seems to be working. So I
But
guess-
it's marginally working.
But according to the users, it sounds like it's doing what it needs to do. Now, in the future, if you want to add new ones in all the other classrooms, maybe you could entertain the 1-inch ones, but right now the 1/2 inch ones seem to be working.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Randy, are we on budget or under budget with this project? Yes.
Yeah,
That's
we're
my
doing-
assumption. So as Tony just said, it's reduced the sound issues, but not to a point where it could be, it definitely could be better. Why are we not thinking about doing the best thing for the kids and the staff right now? If we have money to do it, why do we want to take the minimum? I just don't get it.
So that's something that the town can entertain. The part of the reason why the approach that was first tested was pursued was due to not just ease of installation, but ease of procurement, ease of putting them up. To do the panels you're talking about, the ones like we did in the classroom, that would require someone laying them out, someone developing an RFP, going through an RFP process. And we're talking months and months and months to get this done, ordered, shipped, installed. I don't know if facilities has the bandwidth to install those types of panels in all the classrooms versus the felt ones that are simpler. And so it's something that can be done, certainly. It's just there was a desire to do something, start moving, get the
Quickly,
sound
yeah.
reduced, get them installed
Yeah.
now. So that was what the felt panel accomplished, as opposed to the more robust cafeteria panel system. So it's just
I understand that, Adam, and I appreciate everyone, Jeff and you and the others trying to get on this as quickly as possible. But if we have something that would remediate this in the future and doing the best thing that's for the health of our kids and staff, I just don't understand, if we have the money, why we just don't plan on it and go forward with it.
So a couple things. One of it was the lead time to get those panels. When we first approached this was going to be a 6-month sort of delay.
Yep.
But Steve and then Chris McAvoy.
Yeah, so I don't think this was the end all be all solution. This, as I remember, it was Peter went out and sourced some panels as a very quick, let's try to find something that will fix this. Because this was about 2 months ago. We were all pulling our hair out saying that noise level is unacceptable. We're worried about it being dangerously high. And he said, we're going to try an in-house fix. And they hung up some felt panels. So it wasn't like we were looking for the most cost-effective solution. That was the fastest one. So I don't think anyone is looking for the most cost-effective, how do we barely meet the minimum? This was a test case to see if hanging up these felt panels would affect it at all. And so what I'm getting out of this is the test case worked. Now we should figure out if we want to tweak it at all, and then how do we roll it out?
Right, okay, Chris, you have something to add?
Yeah, that was kind of my thought as well. And then does this have anything to do with who's responsible for the ultimate payment of this? Because we spec'd out 1-inch panels, so. Is this part of the new field?
These were never spec'd. This is an add-on that we came up with
Oh.
ourselves. This is
No, but the original acoustic panels that apparently were damaged because they were painted.
Right, so those discussions have occurred as part of the ongoing settlement topics. None of that has been resolved yet. I would, the addition of panels outside what's laid out in the contract drawings would, putting aside the existing panels, painted, unpainted, whatever, that's something that's not shown in the drawings. So to add this new scope, that's something that would be done with the mindfulness that it is new scope. So it'd be hard to say, tie one to the other, as opposed to talking about providing what was or wasn't in contract drawings. But again, I would, for the sake of the group's decision-making and thought process, I would split the two issues into providing something now versus any other additional items that may or may not come through.
Randy, this
Yes.
is Steve. Can
Yes,
I,
go
can
ahead,
I
Steve.
clear the air?
Please, go ahead.
Panels were specified to be painted. Not that whether they were painted or not painted. They were specified to be painted. There was some comments by the architect that we incorrectly painted them by rolling them. Through this mediation process, Chris, we've proved out in photographic evidence that the panels were in fact sprayed as specified. I just want to set the record straight. The panels were spec'd to be painted. They were painted, and they were painted correctly per spec. They were not rolled, they were sprayed. So I just want to clear the air there.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, so and Peter's not here. But going forward, or maybe, hold on, yes. Is Alan here? Oh, yeah, Alan. Alan, have other felt panels been purchased already?
Hi, this is Alan. No other have been purchased yet.
So it might be worth learning what the cost and lead time is for those type of panels. Just to have that, and we could consider more extensive panels, but I'm worried about the timeline of that. So I don't know, we might have to get a little bit more information for kind of the next meeting. But are you planning on getting more, Alan? Do you know? Has Peter asked for those?
We had discussed getting more, yes, but we were working out the funding for it.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
What about, as an idea, getting as Kathy's saying, get the better thing, get the one that really does the job, not the one that does the job. Maybe on this, if we do a second classroom as another pilot or prototype, we should get the thicker, more sound
thicker ones.
absorbent panels.
Right. So Adam, how would that process look? I mean, is this something we can do in short order, or is this?
Short order, no. well, let me rephrase, depends on what you define as short, but the next steps would be, I would want to confirm with the finance director what procurement of additional panels, the substantive panels would look like through the project, because the project has bought $9,999 worth of panels
Right.
with multiple bids and did not, so just to prevent having to go out to a full bid process, a public bid process for a more extensive scope. The idea is in the cafeteria, do something that could be done quickly, limited, still be responsive in terms of what the pricing would be, but not trigger a longer delayed process.
Right.
So even doing a little bit in one classroom now starts to bring into question, how does that procurement work following by the rules? So I would check, I can check it with finance director to determine what the next steps may or may not look like in that regard. If it's getting multiple quotes or something to that effect, that can be done more quickly to do another test case room with the more substantive panels. If it's going to be going out to bid one way or the other, then we're looking at what would the steps be to do, all the classrooms with these bigger panels. I don't have a doubt that having something more substantive would be better in terms of sound reduction. It's just trying to avoid a situation where we get to 2 meetings from now and all we have to show for it is an RFP and multiple months to get the answer, and then multiple more months to get lead time, and all of a sudden it's the next school year and we don't have anything to show for it other than talking about it. So let me circle back with the finance director, work with Alan and Peter offline about what the flow chart is, and then maybe there could be some communications with the SBC in between meetings to keep you all posted about what next steps might be.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we're going down the RFP, RFQ route, I would be curious to know how much it would cost for the 1/2 inch versus the full inch. Because if there's a negligible cost, I don't know why we wouldn't just go for the full inch. Because I would imagine a lot of that's the labor to install it, and whether it's 1 inch or 1/2 inch, it should be about the same amount of labor. So I would think we would want the pricing on both of those.
Right, and that's a non-trivial component to this, is how and who installs across all classrooms. That's
But over $10,000, it has to go out for bid anyways, right? And this, we're talking about doing every classroom, so it's definitely going to be over $10,000.
Yes, if anything across all the classrooms, that'd definitely be over $10,000.
And I can't imagine us not doing every classroom. I think we would have a lot of very angered teachers if we picked and choose. Yeah, so I think this is heading down the let's get ready to get bids on doing all the classrooms route.
Chris McAvoy.
Can we circle back to the cafeteria and find out how we want to proceed there, or is that a done deal?
Those have been or either halfway or all the way installed. It was at least halfway installed when I last spoke with Bill. So I think the next steps there are to get them all installed and see what the impact is or isn't. If it's not making any sort of qualitative difference, then we'll look to what the next steps might be, and it may roll into something more substantive across all the classrooms too in one shot.
Thank you.
Okay.
I was just
one
going
more.
to say, you probably are thinking this, Steve, but all the classrooms really is just the upstairs classrooms in this case, is that's where the issues are, just for clarity.
That's where they are.
Yeah, it's only in the vaulted ceiling classrooms that the issue has been happening. And of course, the cafeteria.
Okay. All right. That covers all the acoustics. Gym floor?
Gym floor has been coordinated for January 2nd to have the sub come out and look at the wood floor and remove the portion that's buckling and identify if that's just a limited extent and it just needs to be cut back and reconfigured at the door, or if there's some additional work that needs to happen underneath it. So we were trying to do it earlier, but there are some school assemblies and things of that nature towards the end of the semester. So the notion was to do it on January 2nd, starting that work, and it would take about a week is the initial understanding.
Okay. Site poles?
Site poles have been installed. I think Jeff, you took a look at them the replacements there. And
Yeah, early in the morning, I drove by this morning and checked them all. It looks like they've all been replaced. A lot of the bases have not been replaced, and there's quite a few that the paint is failing on those, the base plate covers. And then I noticed 2 poles that had about a dime-shaped rust dot at the lower 3 feet of the poles. I sent Adam pictures of what I saw, but they're all been replaced, so that's good.
Yeah, Steve, I don't know if you have something to, or Brian has something to add to that.
No, we'll follow. The base plate covers may have not come in, maybe just the poles, so they've replaced the existing ones or put them in temporarily. We'll follow up on that, and then if there are 2 that have, you know, small rust spots on them, I would encourage you guys to get them over to us so we can get them to Ferguson and follow the same procedure under warranty with the manufacturer.
Okay, great.
after this, I'll send the photos that Jeff had just sent me, so we're all working with the same data.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything else on site polls? Otherwise, it's the traffic
No.
study next. So that traffic study was conducted, and just to remind everyone, this was something that was required as part of the initial planning and zoning approval for the intersection work. Basically, after school was open, they wanted to look at the traffic flows to make sure that the work that was done and the scope that was done actually satisfied the needs for that intersection. So study was done. The SLR had looked at everything, and the intersection's performing at or better than intended, so they do not recommend any additional work to be done for the intersection. So that's been coordinated with the planning and zoning department and town engineering, and so it'll go, I think it's Monday, just back to the PZC for their final review, but the short answer is that there's no additional work anticipated, and that should close that item. And then the last item I have, which wasn't on the little word list, but it was something that got brought up, was the commissioning the energy dashboard. I think Chris Kiefer had brought this up. And so we had worked with the commissioning agent to kind of get the lay of the land, as well as I'm just looking at what was specified to be provided for the energy dashboard. So I can pull up a little snippet that I got here from the commissioning agent just about an hour or so ago. The short answer is that the dashboard is up and working. And if you're in the school, you can kind of see it on the TV there. In terms of its the use and going through the actual the screen, so you can kind of see here, there's a generic screen dashboard here with some more detailed information showing energy over time. Chris, to answer your question about, how does the dashboard work? It's not something public facing that someone outside the network could just go in and start playing around with it like you see at some universities. I have a call into Jamie to confirm how that security worked, because he and I had discussed it with the controls contractor a while back, way when we were first starting the energy dashboard. But the short answer is that, or my understanding is that it's on the back end of things like the building management system. So someone outside in the public couldn't just go in and start utilizing it. However, in terms of its functionality, it's a little grainy, I know, but once you're in the system, Chris, it's pretty simplistic in terms of, you select whether you want data for today or this week or this month, and do you want to see the solar data, or do you want to see the lights or kitchen? So it's fairly intuitive insofar as if someone wanted to tweak some of the data that's displayed on the screens, they could go in and do so pretty readily, but not on a just on an ad hoc basis.
Right. Adam, this is really the questions coming from teachers who have been, told from Kelly's time that this was a priority to get the kids to understand what was going on, the excitement of being in the school. So that's the issue. It's in school use, and not necessarily manipulation, but ways to look at it, ways to look at sums and, since a given period, how much has been used, that kind of stuff. I would be curious and interested in getting the specs from you on what we should be expecting. So
Yeah,
that we can give a
I
clear
can,
message. But again, as I recall, it's pretty clear from Kelly what we were after as far as this being an educational tool.
Right, I can send you that from the spec afterwards, and Colorona has been involved in reviewing to make sure that the data that was intended to be captured in the trend logs, plug load here, this on hourly basis, daily basis, weekly, etc. That's what's been incorporated into the back end, and the in terms of the teachers being able to pull data or whatnot from it. It's not impossible by any means. It's just a function of confirming that the backend security is maintained. So there was discussions about someone with a at Mansfield CT or what have you email address being able to access it. It's just a function of getting that security and access controlled versus something more widespread and public. So I'll follow up with the group on that once I get a chance to talk with Jamie about it.
But from the way you're talking, it's sounding as if the system they're done. It's running as it's supposed to be going, or you're going to still be checking that?
So we're still checking that because some of the metering, there's some questions
Right.
about whether or not
Okay.
the metering is accurately reading, or if it's actually so I kind of scroll down here for a moment. There's some snapshots of some of the loads. And so some of the kitchen loads and some of the plug loads are higher than anticipated. So the commissioning agent and controls contractor and Kohler Ronan are confirming if that's an issue of actual usage or something in one of the systems, or is the meter itself not reading it correctly? Because there was some questions about confirming the usage versus some of the Eversource data. What does the bill say versus what does the building say it's using? So they've been working on some of them in the kitchen, but they're still resolving some of that, those questions for some of the plug loads in that. So short answer to your question is the dashboard itself is functioning. It's just whether or not all the data is 100%
Representative of
accurate
what
or
it
not.
says labeled as.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's been a problem for a while.
Yes.
Is the total seeming, you mentioned that there's more here, more plug load and more kitchen load. Is the total within the range of expectations?
It is, my understanding is that it's close. It's a function of what net zero would be.
Right.
It's confirming are the solar panels generating as much as expected? And there was already some built-in cushion when it was designed. Is that cushion sufficient to override what's being used? In terms of what the baseline, is it net zero or not? But the broader question is why is the usage higher than anticipated? Because if it's higher, then that's really where the cost savings to the town is, regardless of net zero or not.
So you just said it's actually quite close to what was expected, the total.
That's my the net is within something's not drastically wrong. It's a function of understanding what's causing the little bits that are higher here and there and here and there. So again, I don't have enough data to say what is or isn't, on a granular level, what is or isn't correct. But it's not as though it's double out of whack or something like that.
We still have the full summer to go through too, to kind of catch up and so forth.
Yeah, I spoke to Craig a little about this, and I was asking him if we were on track, and he said, yeah, but some of the ups and downs are exactly what Adam was talking about. He said also this last August, I guess, since it's one of the few buildings on a municipal level that had full air conditioning, this last August, that building was used quite a bit for things. So, so that has a little bit to do with it as well.
Tony?
There are two questions here. One of them is, are we achieving net zero? And I guess the answer is that is maybe, maybe not. And the second question is, can students and teachers access the data easily? And I'm confused. The answers that came back very complicated. So can you just answer a simple, straightforward question? Can students and teachers access the data on this screen easily?
Currently, no. And that's initially by intent to make sure the security protocols were maintained with the town system. That's what I'm confirming with, going to follow up with Jamie and Bill and Alan on what does that process look like. So it is simple, that someone could glean data at some point.
if the students and the teachers can't access the data, the purpose of the screen has been totally lost. I mean, that's the function. It's a teaching and monitoring tool. And if you can't use it, you can't use it.
Okay, right. So,
I would like to have us follow up, definitely put this on the agenda for next month, next meeting.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah. So as a follow-up. Would you mind if we got to hear from Kate about the
Classrooms?
acoustics, classroom acoustics? We were talking about it before you came in.
Oh.
And just your
Your impression of,
experience of it.
yeah.
And in the cafeteria as well, which we didn't hear anybody.
So one of the things we did notice was that we did a whole school picture shortly after acoustics, which we didn't really realize. We hadn't kind of talked about the acoustic panels in the cafeteria being up. And it was a sense that there was a deadening of the noise. There was you can imagine a little trepidation about us putting 580 kids in the cafeteria in the Great Hall for a picture on a Friday afternoon. But there, we could actually hear the sound system in the front mid section. It still has problems in the back. So that was a huge positive for us. You know, we don't have any of the testing results, but that was just our anecdotal. And in the classrooms, we're still having installation panel issues in some places, but we're continuing to see the panels that we have installed having some effect. They removed the other panels for the service, and it's not noticeable. I think there was a fear about what that would look like. It's behind the door and it's not noticeable.
Okay,
Peter wants to add to that.
yeah. Any other updates that we have? Oh, go ahead, Peter.
I did take some pictures. Have you seen the pictures of the install? So I can forward that to Randy. I think you would be pleased. I know there was a discussion about the aesthetics of it. The facilities team did an amazing job. They're quite creative and they have an eye for design. They blend in really well. They add an artsy kind of accent to the walls. And so I don't think anyone will come in there thinking that we've done anything different. It looks like it was meant to be. And the color match is perfect. So I think we made the right choice and the layout was perfect.
Okay, great. Okay, then with that, we'll move on with our agenda. The next item is an executive session. Mary, you want to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we move into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 1-206 and Section 1-210B for discussions of contract revisions due to project delays.
And invite in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I always forget that part. I stop at the period like a good reader and I don't keep going like a bad reader. And I would like to invite in our town manager, Ryan Ellsworth, project managers, Adam Levitas and Scott Pellman, Superintendent Peter Dart, and Principal Kate McCoy.
Okay, second by Steve. So we will go into executive session at this time. Anybody online that would like to wait around, I can put you in the waiting room. And we'll have to clear the room then otherwise. So with that, we will enter executive session. Okay, we're back in open session. The time is 5:36. I'll note for the record that Adam Levitas and Scott Pellman left executive session at about 5:30. But we're now back in session. So we have a motion.
I move to approve PO 22004101 for extended project administration and closeout in the amount of $215,000. PO 75679 for reimbursable expenses for the amount of $2,500, and PO 23004058 for ongoing administrative support by $5,000. Payout to, these are all payouts to Colliers.
Okay, we have a motion from Tony. Is there a second? Second from Madison. Any other discussion? Then all in favor of approving the motion, please indicate. Any opposed or abstentions? Oh, and Steve is just coming online. Okay, so then that passes.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a request for an amendment to the agenda?
Yes, could you?
We have a member of the public who wishes to speak to us who arrived late, and so he missed the original public participation, and I'm wondering
Okay.
if we could add public participation at the present moment.
Okay, yes, I think we'll have a motion from Tony. And public comment.
And with our usual rules of a 5-minute public
Yes, and
participation.
then second, Chris Kiefner.
Yep. I'll time it.
Okay, and so we will do that right now. So you're welcome if you'd like to address the committee. I think you have to pull that microphone kind of close to you. And
Name, address.
yeah, please indicate your name and address for the committee.
My name's Eric Reynolds. I live at 127 Wormwood Hill Road.
Excuse me a minute. If
Say-
you are being amplified, the people who are on the computer can't hear you. So pull the microphone closer.
My name is Eric Reynolds.
Okay.
I live at 127 Wormwood Hill Road. I'd like to address the committee. As a resident of Mansfield, contractor on the elementary school, whose firm has not been paid in excess of $500,000 because the town is pursuing liquidated damages against Newfield Construction, the following require answers. Why, number one, why the original RFP stated 30 months construction, turnover 23, school year 23-24. How did it morph to August of 2022? The construction administrator's contract for $671,800 is for 30 months of construction for a period from January of 2021 to June of 2023, with a closeout period of July through December of 2023. Why was their contract not amended to reflect the shortened construction duration? Construction administrator proposal deduct alternate included in Construction Solutions Group CSG proposed shortening construction to 16 months with $149,283 deduct. The committee determined that they were not qualified to perform these services. Then why was the suggested shortened construction schedule adopted? Why, since January of 2023, has the town issued in excess of $400,000 for extended construction administrative services, now exceeding $1 million for services contracted through December 31st of 2023? Why are contractors being penalized for late delivery according to the original RFP and the CA's contract? The school was turned over in advance of June 30th, 2023 date. A full accounting is required of all of the professional services rendered. The job needs to be closed out without further delay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reynolds. We'll take your questions under advisement.
Thank you.
Okay, then that brings us to PCO and procurement review
Yes.
invoices.
Randy, if I could, I did, while I was outside of the executive session, I happened to catch some information from Jamie about the dashboard. If the committee would entertain me providing a little update.
Yes, why don't you go ahead?
So I was working under some outdated data, so I misspoke when I said earlier about the teacher access. So the dashboard can currently be accessed anywhere within the town's network. So that includes the school building, the computers they're in, so long as it's behind the town's firewalls and within the town's the network. So the missing link, I think, in terms of the process for teachers and students being able to access it, as the committee identified, is just providing that training and steps so that all the faculty members know how to get there. It's not something that would be accessible from someone's home laptop or things of that nature because it's on the town systems. But for the point of education, that is baked into the current setup. It's just an education piece. So as next steps,
Okay.
I'll work with the group and develop that material on how to, so that way that can be disseminated.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know.
That's very good to hear. Thank you.
On terms of PCOs, there were two items that I had hoped would be ready for this evening. Unfortunately, there's still some last mile data that makes it something that's not available for a vote tonight per se. However, both items are below the $10,000 executive approval, expedited approval threshold that was mentioned. So it's something that might be entertained once we have the information and Randy, Ryan, and Peter, if they believe it appropriate with this committee's input to move forward on. The two items are lightning protection, which the second iteration of the RFP closed for that. There was a bidder. The value is $8,750. Kohler Ronan took a look at their proposal, and we've clarified that the scope generally aligns with what was requested. It's just a function of getting some of the additional information from the proposer to confirm they meet the town's requirements for actually proceeding with the work. So I don't have those at hand yet, but once I do, I'll coordinate with, again, like I said, Randy, Ryan, Peter to get that moving, presuming there's no exception from the SBC here. Any questions on the lightning protection item? Nope. Okay. And the second bit is the cap for the masonry wall. If you recall, the stone has been purchased and it's on site in pallets over on the east side of the school there. We've gotten some quotes from local masons to install the cap on top of the existing wall, including some cleanup work at the top of the wall and providing the mortar and installing the caps. We just got one of the last quotes in today, so we're still vetting some of the numbers and making sure that the scope is captured. The value will probably be around $5,000 based on some of the numbers we received. Maybe a little less, but either way, that's something I can coordinate with Randy, Ryan, Peter, because I know there's been some desire to get that moving, get that bit solved.
Adam, that's just for labor?
Yes, labor and whatever limited material for like the ground.
But not the stone itself. We've got the
No.
stone on site.
The- Correct, stone's already there.
Okay.
And that's it in terms of procurement items.
Okay, and an invoice.
And I'll share invoice packet. So this evening's invoice packet invoices from Colliers, Conwed for the acoustic panels, which have arrived. So that will close them out. Two from the Nunez companies. This is the final release of retention for the work done at the intersection. Per the contract, the retention was to be held for a year. So it's been a year, and town engineering has signed off on the work. So those are ready to be paid out. SLR, who is the firm that did the traffic study. So this is to close out their work. TSKP's monthly invoice, and Weston and Sampson for their monthly stormwater monitoring invoice for a total of $51,680 and 95 cents.
Okay. Adam, I just wanted to comment, the supporting information that you sent this time felt different. If it was or wasn't, I don't know, but I hadn't noticed it put together that way, and it was very helpful. Seemed a lot more frankly, to me, it had the kind of detail that was helpful. So
Oh,
thank you
okay.
for doing that.
Wasn't intentionally different, but it's what we try to provide each time, so
Thanks.
I'll keep doing that.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the invoice?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the invoice packet dated today, December 14th, 2023, including invoices from CPL, Conwed, the Nunez Companies, SLR, TSKP, and Weston and Sampson for a total approval of $51,680.95.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Chris?
Second it.
Second. All right. Mary. Chris, any questions? If not, then all in favor of approving the motion, please indicate. Any opposed or abstentions?
He's gone.
He's gone now. Okay, all right. Great. Then the next item is the meeting schedule for next year. So this schedule reflects one meeting a month as a regular meeting. We could do, and it would be the last or the fourth Thursday of the month. We can plan it this way. If we need extra meetings, we could do those as special meetings. So I don't know exactly what the preference of the committee is. If you'd rather just schedule 2 per month.
No.
Yeah, Tony.
The problem with a special meeting is that you are stuck with an agenda once you draw one up. You can't add to the agenda for a special meeting. I would suggest that for the January through May, that we have 2 meetings a month. Because we're going to be doing finishing the final pricing. We're going to be doing commissioning. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. And in my experience on these committees, I really want to know what's going on at the committee level and not learn about it from someplace else. And I know that it has been a burden, and this committee has been astonishing in its devotion to this task. So I hesitate to suggest this, but I do think we're going to need these regular
Okay.
meetings.
Okay, so proposal then would be January through May to schedule 2 meetings per month. It'd be the second and fourth Thursdays. It seems reasonable.
That's a good compromise to
Okay.
cover our bases and to feel informed. I agree.
Kathy?
I agree with Tony reluctantly, but I know that we can cancel meetings if we need to. So
Right.
it's better to have them posted and be there, and then we don't have to do this shuffling with special meetings and whatnot. But we can
Okay.
always cancel. That's always an option.
Did you say take it out to
Well,
June?
well
You said
made point
Through
there,
May. She
Kathy.
said through May.
May.
I'm having a tough time reading Kathy Ward, my board chair, and thinking about the Board of Ed meetings.
Oh, is it a Thursday? Oh,
Okay, so we would add, so January 11, February 8, March 14 must be.
Tony, why did you do, I'm just curious, 5 months as opposed to just rounding it out at half the year?
I lost my courage. Let's do it.
Wow.
Let's do it till June. I think doing
Oh
it
my
till June makes sense.
Oh, no. That might break. it.
Adam, what's your thought? Is that realistic? I mean, in terms of activities and so forth, but with the known fact, we can always cancel.
Yeah, I would be surprised if there was enough substance to have every single one of those first of the month
Okay.
meetings. But to the mayor's point, it is more flexible to have a regular meeting than a special meeting. So it may be that it's a judicious use of canceling meetings. It's just making sure that it happens enough times so it's not someone plans their Thursday and then all of a sudden it's canceled and then it's mostly a wasted Thursday. So Colliers will do whatever's needed, but I think that several of those meetings probably won't have enough meat on the bones to have.
I'd like to state a preference. This meeting actually conflicts with another one that I should be at now. And so my preference would be that we favor the second or the fourth, the second option, the fourth Thursday rather than the second.
Right, and yes, we,
They were holding the meeting on the.
well, yes,
Exactly
yes.
where you're gonna cancel one, it would be much more convenient
it-
for me if you canceled
I mean,
the second week as
right.
opposed to the fourth week.
which is typically when we pay the bulk of the bills to, anyway, so. Okay, so then.
When
oh,
I
sorry, go
am
ahead.
strongly in favor of canceling a meeting when there's nothing significant on the
Absolutely.
agenda.
Yeah.
I'm not shy to do that. Okay, so there's this, the amended building schedule is, meeting schedule, sorry, for 2024 is on the screen now. So it'll be the second and fourth Thursday of the month through June. And then following that, starting in July, it would just be the fourth Thursday. Yeah, I think it's June, yeah, you have June 6th down, Adam, instead of June 13. Oh, Kathy, go ahead.
Just a question, maybe Tony knows this. When we decide that we're all done, can we just cancel the rest of the meetings that are posted for the year?
We have to
Is
keep.
there an
going,
issue
Kathy.
with that?
We'll bring food, though. Yes, we can cancel them, yeah, once.
Without an agenda, there's no meeting.
Right.
Okay,
Okay, so this is the new proposed meeting schedule for 2024. Someone want to make the motion to,
I move that we approve the meeting schedule as presented.
okay, thank you, and, all right, thank you. All in favor, please indicate. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. I think that's it. That brings us to adjournment.
I'd like to move we adjourn.
Thank you. Second from Mary. All in favor? Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks.
Happy
holidays, everybody.
And good luck, Adam.
Good luck,
Oh, yes, thank you.
Congrat-